Hey everyone, great to see you guys. I am here with a special episode of my Monday Marketing Minute, and I'm joined by a very special guest today, Lee Taylor. Lee, welcome.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and have this conversation.
Yeah, so Lee is a fan of StoryBrand. And of course, if anyone has connected with me in any form or fashion over the last many years, you know a little something about StoryBrand. That's a marketing framework that I have been certified in since early 2018. And it's really based on storytelling principles that help us clarify our overall marketing message and really connect with our customers and clients in a way that makes sense, right? So people know exactly what we do, how we can help them, how we can make their lives or their businesses better. And so one of the things that's been a little bit interesting with StoryBrand over the last few months is that at the beginning of the year, beginning of 2025, Donald Miller did an updated version of his book, Building a Story Brand, which has sold well over 1 million copies. And so he did a updated version, Building a Story Brand 2.0, with just some fresh information and more examples. And so that's been a really exciting to just kind of have it back out there in the public. And then also the launch of StoryBrand.ai. So of course we all are interested in what AI is, what is happening with AI these days. And so StoryBrand now has its own AI tool that can help you clarify your message, kind of build a brand script and some other marketing materials. And so that's sort of what prompted some of this project that Lee embarked on this year and that we're going to be talking about today. So first, Lee, I'd love to just hear a little bit from you about what is it that you love about StoryBrand. You're not a certified guide, but you're a super fan.
I am a super fan. I remember my cousin of mine actually had been to one of the very first trainings he ever did around StoryBrand. I went to a workshop in Nashville probably close to when you were certified, 17. It had been in that same time frame. Yeah, for me, I love ideas. I hate to admit this, I love complexity naturally. And so when I first heard about StoryBrand and saw the framework, I was like, it just brought everything into something that was very digestible. And for me, it was the challenge I needed to get clear on, okay, what is the message? How do you communicate it? Because I'm someone, when I get excited about what I do, I just could tell you everything I love about it and everything. And so, yeah, it made sense to me. You know, when you hear, I've heard Don talk about it, and then I've read the book. It's just some things you just listen, you're just like, this just makes sense. And when you see it done well, and I've seen a number of good examples, you know, like this works. Like it absolutely works. And so, yeah, I've been a fan for a very long time.
And a lot of people are like you, right? They've read the book, they've consumed some content, they've heard Donald Miller speak about StoryBrand, and they've done a lot of work to implement it themselves. But then sometimes they still want a little extra help.
Yes.
Because it is one of those things that's like, oh yeah, this makes perfect sense. This is really awesome. And then sometimes you start to implement things like that and you're like, I don't know exactly, am I doing this right? So that's part of what, kind of prompted you to take on this project. So talk a little bit about your messaging makeover project and how that came together.
Yeah, I think you said it there too. It's one of those things where like it is knowledge of something versus implementation are two very, very different things. And I think I realize it in my own work, and a lot of the work I see is like, it's one thing to have the knowledge, but actually implementing and executing on it's a very different thing. And so, I mean, every website I've ever done, all those things have been based on a brand script, but it always felt like I was close, but it was not yet there. And I just always felt that. And so I had this idea in my mind, like, what if I'm kind of a hustler, figure plans out, like, what if I could do some kind of a challenge where I get guides to help me, look at my message. And so when StoryBrand AI came out, I was like, okay, I'm just going to dive into this. But I know I just been around enough around AI and around StoryBrand enough to know, like, I really needed help. And so, yeah. And so when I thought, what if I could just reach out? And I kind of had a dream list of people. Like, I was like, I would love to get a lot of the people who've been on Marketing Made Simple podcast and whatever to come on. And amazingly enough, had 4 of you who are all like high level StoryBrand guides agree to come along this journey with me. And so it's one of the things that kept, as emails would come in, I tell my wife, like, another person agreed to do it. Another one, I talked another one into it.
That's awesome.
And so Yeah, and the goal was just for me for once to like really dig in and figure out. So I've said a lot of times since then, I felt like I was 80% there, but it was always that last 20%. And so I was like, what if I could, kind of cross that line and get the expertise that pushes it over the last 20%? And so, yeah, that's what led to it, to actually doing it. And I love creative projects. So it was just such a fun idea to get a chance to talk to you all and update this.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun to be invited to be part of that. And it is fun to just, I mean, those of us that have been in StoryBrand for a long time, we just love to talk about it, right? And it just kind of becomes now second nature. But I think you are right. There are a lot of people that get into this and go, yeah, I'm almost there. But I just need another set of eyes. I just need somebody that works in this all the time to come in and just kind of go, well, what about this? Or what about that? And that's also true of just having somebody come in from outside your business. Absolutely. Right? Because I mean, we all get like in our business, we know exactly what we do, makes perfect sense to us. We know all the language and the jargon and how we say things. And then to outsiders, it sometimes is like, I don't know exactly what you mean. So just bringing in that outside perspective and a fresh set of eyes can be hugely helpful for folks as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's one of the biggest pivotal moments was actually after a conversation with you, and we had gone through my brand script. And when I tell people, it's like, and I could talk about this, I could explain it. I really could like take somebody through the whole StoryBrand framework. And so there was a little bit, even afterwards, I was like, still kind of stuck of like, I feel like I'm doing this, but something's wrong. And so I was legitimately laying in bed that night. I could not go to sleep. I was like scrolling through my website in my mind again and again. And there was just this moment where I realized for me, and I've really tried not to, like I could see Role Clarity, which is the company, the business I have, it was the hero of the story. And I'd always thought about it like for not making myself the hero, but when I could see it, it just, and something a couple things you had said and we talked about in that interview came back to mind, but it was, I could just see it as like, oh, this is the Role Clarity story and I'm inviting people to join it, but this is not their story and how I can help. And it was that moment, it's probably midway through that 7-day kind of challenge there where something changed. Now, it wasn't easy after that, but it really, for the first time ever, that be the guide, not the hero, for me, it clicked in a different way. And so yeah, I think that's, I mean, I've heard that. I've heard it 100 times and still could not break free until there's something changed there. And that lens, I saw it for the first time. I was like, oh my goodness.
Yes. I think that's probably the most transformational piece of that framework, and the thing that for most business owners, they're just like, oh, wait, I have not been doing that. And it's not that maybe they were even intentionally trying to make the story all about them. It's just what we do, right? And we just want to tell people like, oh my gosh, look at all the great things that we've done and this wonderful business that we've built. We're excited about it. And so we just sort of end up making the business the hero of the story. So I think that's such a huge shift for pretty much anybody that I have I've worked with or that has encountered the StoryBrand framework.
And probably I'd say that one thing, at least I'm sure it's been said, I've never heard it, was a lot of times what I hear the challenge around StoryBrand is don't make yourself the hero. But for me, and maybe it's what helps somebody who's watching, I had made my solution the hero. So it wasn't me that was the hero, but my solution was the hero. And that was a big change there of like, okay, sure, I'm not making like that I'm the one saving your business, but I probably had, if you read through it, my solution was going to save your business. And that is how it read.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, that's a great way to frame that. Yeah, because some people are like, well, I'm not even on the homepage of the website. It's not me, right? Again, you're making the business and what it can do for people kind of the hero of the story. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. So you embarked on this challenge to kind of revamp your website, redo some of your marketing, and then you used some of the AI tools for that, right? Walk me through that process a little bit of how that went for you.
Yeah, I think that, and this is kind of my experience in all of AI. And so this isn't just about StoryBrand AI. I mean, I use ChatGPT a good bit, whatever. what ended up happening for me, even as I went through it with that, is it would just give me a lot more options. So you're able to generate 10, 20, 50, 100 options just fast. Just go through them.
Yeah.
But for me, it still wasn't cutting through, like kind of what the conversation we just had, where somebody is looking at you and saying, you've challenged me. You said, is that what they actually say? And it's like, no, it's not what they say, and so I think that's the part of, I think AI is really good for, and I still think that I use it for email subject lines and do different things with it. And so it's great for generating ideas, but I probably have not yet seen it to the point where like it's cutting through to like, the heart, the soul behind something. And maybe one day they will give AI a soul. That will be a very interesting day for us all.
Oh, yikes.
Yes. But as of now, I think, and so that was my experience was before I even met with you all, because I spent an entire day just like, hey, I'm just going to do AI with this. And for me, I ended up in probably the same place. It's like I had better words, but it was still the similar kind of idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so you then were able to bring in some certified folks to just get some feedback. And I think you definitely learned some things from that. And then we're able to capture all of that on a web page that you've put together for other people, which is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just talked through on the message makeover there. But there we had, somebody talk through the name of my business, because like so many people's like, oh, this is a business naming problem. I need to rename it. And she was like, Lynn Tickner was she's like, you probably don't need to rename this. I don't think that's your problem, And so then you walked my brand script, and then Chris Jones walked me through my homepage wireframe, and then Josh Cantrell was so amazing with like the lead generators. And so, I just was walking through each of those, and I interviewed it. And so that people like me who are trying to figure this thing out could see the value of a guide, but then also like see a real case study of what does it look for a real person to walk through and get this advice from somebody. And from there just took it and changed my website with just trying to take as much of that advice as possible, and then let people, I still have it on there. You can still see live. This is what the old site was and the new site, so people can decide, do they actually see that it was a difference, a change?
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And it really does give people that idea of like, okay, I can do this, right? I can do this
100%.
myself. And also just the benefits of, again, having that outside perspective, having somebody who can come in and just kind of help fine tune things a little bit for you. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and I think the thing I'd say here, and then Holly has not paid me to say what I'm about to say right now. This is a non-paid endorsement. But I do remember this. I mean, I invested, it wasn't a ton. I invested several $1,000s in my website. And since then, I've done other things like that for the website, the video, photos, all that kind of stuff. And, looking, I remember being at that time and looking between, I could invest in kind of doing a messaging, getting a StoryBrand guide to help me with my message, or the website. And I just thought, truthfully, it's like, I think I know enough of this. I'll just pay for the website because I can't do that. And in my mind, I thought I could do the other. And looking back, if I could go back, 4 years ago, whenever that was done, or I created the first time, I've told several people this, I would get the message like rock star clear. And if I had to go find somebody on Upwork and pay them $500 to make a website, it'd just be a simple one page. It's one of the biggest differences I would probably do in my marketing is I would tell somebody, get that right, because the right words they move people way more than any fancy scroll design stuff. So
yeah, that's great. Yeah, I love to hear you say that, because that's obviously what I tell people all the time as well, is that we have to have the messaging nailed down first, and then everything is going to flow from that. I think even just projects that I do with folks, even if we are doing a website, maybe we're doing emails, we're doing more things, they go so much more smoothly because we've started with the message, we figured that out, we spent the time to really get that right, and then it feeds the website, it feeds the emails, it feeds the lead generator ideas, the social media content, like whatever else we're putting together. And so we're not like jumping into the middle going, hey, let's build a website and do an email campaign, and then like, oh wait, we don't really know what to say, and then it's like we're having to go back and redo things, and it just makes the project a lot more clunky. So if you can start with the messaging, even if that's an upfront financial investment, I think it does save people so much time and money in the long run.
Yeah, and I think I told you is for me, the biggest surprise of all this on the backside was some of the, even the offering and how like I'm communicating that, and even how maybe even tweaking some of that of what it is that I'm offering. I mean, some of that just has changed as a result of this. Just whenever you really step into, okay, and I've asked a couple clients and a couple people, what's the biggest pain point? And just tilting that perspective of, really solving the problem for them. And so that's been a fun, like I was not counting on that. I was wanting to do a website, and then it kind of on the backside was, when doing that, I thought, well, so what does this look like as an offer, as far as a tweak of an offer too?
Yeah, I love that. That's so good. Well, let's tell everybody a little bit about just Role Clarity, what you do. Give folks your website in case they're interested, and we'll also include the website so folks can take a look at the work that you did with the Story Brand as well. Yeah,
so Role Clarity Revolution is the coaching program and the consulting work that I do. A lot of leaders struggle to communicate exactly what it is they want from their team. And so as a result, they don't see the profitability, the productivity that they're looking for. And so what I do is come alongside and teach them a very simple framework for communicating that, to make sure that they're delegating ownership instead of just delegating tasks, and they're really giving people a pathway to do their best work. And so I kind of look at everybody's like, is that job descriptions and big processes, and say, let's not go there. What if we just answer the 3 questions that every team member needs in order to thrive in their role, take ownership, and to really succeed, and helping leaders, especially busy small business owners, do that quickly and simply. And so I do that through workshops, but then also ongoing like 90-day coaching engagements, and just love working with leaders and teams.
That's awesome. That's good. And you work with folks all over the place, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
In person, virtual, do it all.
That's awesome. I love that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, and I'll also include the link to your website and also this landing page where folks can check out this messaging makeover and watch the videos and kind of see how all that came together. And I think it sounds like you got I know you got great advice from all the folks that participated, and was really able to revamp some of your messaging.
For sure.
Have you started to see some impact from that, maybe potential clients?
Yeah, I have had a couple leads. People have reached out, and it's funny, some colder leads, people who've reached out in the past and have kind of touched base since. And so that's always fun, just to get that again. And I think it's just narrowing down. I think people go to the site, when you go to roleclarity.co or the message makeover, even if you go to the bottom and see like the lead generator, just seeing that, I think it's so much more narrowed down to like, this is what I do, this is how I help people, so people can see that more clearly as opposed to what I had in the past. And so that's been a fun part of the process.
I love that. That's so good. Well, Lee, thanks for being a StoryBrand super fan.
Absolutely. Need a tattoo.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And thanks for doing this project and just kind of showing people that StoryBrand is accessible, how they can use it in their business, and obviously for including myself and some of the other guides in the project. It was a lot of fun.
For sure. Thank you so much for your help. You guys were so generous, and was a real blessing in the whole process.
That's awesome. All right. Thanks so much for being here.
All right. Thank you.